Hello, welcome to April 12th, 2022. I'm Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation. A reminder of my objectives and principles, and a check-in to see how I'm doing applying those to the day. Oh, feeling better, a little bit better today. Not any particular good reason, just the vicissitudes of life, right? It's like the weather, just comes and goes. Yesterday was an average, challenging day at work. I had one meeting that was really tough. I had to, orchestrate it, kind of lead it, but not be really a part of it. It was for a group that I'm not really a part of, but they're part of my project. So I had to be there, and I had to kind of orchestrate things, yet keep my distance. Easy and difficult at the same time, but I think we made our ends, fulfilled our objectives. Oh. Other than that, it was a plodding day yesterday. Oh, just God, it's few days that I wake up that I'm more done with work than yesterday. Yumiko was too. And I was talking to some people online that were, expressing the same sentiment. I think it was over in the Discord. I think it's something to do with age, closing in on 60. Just, don't want to do this. Although I talked to Yumiko, we talked about, because we both worried that in our old age we're not going to have anything to do. Would you be okay doing something that wasn't stressful? And I think we would. Both of us would. Something to occupy the time. I've got this dream of working in a Japanese convenience store, working at 7-Eleven. Anyway, it's a good day otherwise. Really nice evening with the family. Wow, that was really the part that, the topper. And I had a good evening of reading, an afternoon of reading, walking the dogs. I read a good part of my Life of Johnson, and I started reading my Norton anthology of American literature, which I really like. Started doing both because I was reading from Johnson, who was a big reader himself. He was saying, that it's important to balance serious reading with fun reading. So, serious reading is reading the life of Samuel Johnson. The fun reading is the Norton Anthology of American Literature. Okay, let's do the good life. My 7 objectives are to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, and to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. Oh, I caught myself this morning. I don't know why I've been worried about this ever since I got this. Yumiko was her idea. She suggested that we buy a coffee maker and she created a whole coffee bar and snack bar around the corner for me, so that I wouldn't have to trudge downstairs in the day for cups of coffee. It's really, really nice. Anyway, you put the coffee in, you put the K-cup, you put the thing down, you push the button and walk away and come back later and there's a cup of coffee. And then it froths up the milk. It's really good. And sure enough, today's the morning. I started the whole procedure, walked away, got into my office here, started turning on all the lighting. And I thought, this sounds different. I could hear the coffee machine doing its thing and dripping water. I looked around the corner. There was no cup. Fortunately, it's got a little catcher at the bottom to catch for such mistakes, but it'll only catch like a few ounces of coffee before it starts to run over. So fortunately, I ran over and got a cup under there before it did run over. Carpeted floors, after all. Speaking of old age, losing my edge. Okay, 30 principles. Number 1 is the principle of war, to always fight against what I think is true. Number 2 is the principle of reason, and it has 3 sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt, which is how I approach the world. Number 3 is the homunculus, the suggestion that I don't have a soul, but I do have a consciousness, clearly. That's at my disposal for a few decades. Then comes the Anchorhold, the suggestion that each of our homunculi are utterly alone within our brains, never really connected or in any way touching any others. Then comes the home of good and evil, the suggestion that right and wrong do not exist out there in the universe, because I don't believe there's any God that infuses the universe with right or wrong or purpose or justice or vengeance or righteousness. They're simply descriptive, universal, universe governing laws, seemingly governing the way things work, which are a mystery. So, and they remain a mystery, they remain a question mark, until there's good reason to think otherwise. Therefore, since there is no 10 Commandments etched in stone from some deity that infuses the universe, we have to realize that our ideas of right and wrong are something within our heads. That is the home of good and evil. Then comes the principle of purpose. We all need something to call our purpose, and my purpose are to be a good husband and father, to attempt to improve the well-being, the happiness of thinking creatures, and to perpetuate the sharing of my story in my own book going along. Next comes the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces. Then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that nature is. And then the pirate ride. Yumiko and I had an interesting talk on Sunday about the pirate ride. I explained that principle to her. The pirate ride being the suggestion that free will is an illusion. It's interesting, she really didn't express an opinion. I'll have to query her about that this weekend. What do you think, Yumiko? Do we have free will? I'm sure she'll say something fascinating. She always does. Okay, then comes maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. That's how we get mature, is when we remember our successes and failures. We live long enough to have successes and failures, and then remember them, and then are strong in doing better. And then the social principle. Human beings don't do well for long alone. We need each other. And then public speaking. A reminder to be very careful in my communications, to use few and carefully chosen words, well composed, and to review my communications before issuing them into the world. Away, speech, communication, email, whatever. And next comes temperance, and the sub-principles of suffering, simplicity, and apathy, which is the characteristics of the temperate life, because we resist our desires and we ask for less, and I still need to move apathy. Then comes the horror show. Life is a real and true and perpetual horror show. Even when things are good, they're just making their way for more horror. Then comes the principle called that which must be borne, with an E at the end, carried. And we have to carry the weight of our responsibilities and our commitments, our obligations, and the fact of the horror show. And then the Feast of Offal is where we have had enough and we spew out into the world our frustrations and upset. And we, like voyeurs, consume the upset of others, relishing their suffering. Try not to engage in either of those as either a consumer or a disher outer of disher outer. Next comes distraction. We distract ourselves. I don't feel like did I get these wrong? No, I got it. Distraction. We spend our lives distracting ourselves with all the things we've got, or the pursuit of our education, or raising a family, gossip, work, play, hobbies, television especially. Religion is the best distraction of all, because it can be a subliminal thing going on in our head all the time. And not of this world, as they say. It's really a fascinating perspective to wait out the storm of life, to kill time, to forecast a new world. Well, I just realized also that kind of thing, religion, also relates to hope. Whereas hope, more recently, liberated virtue, used to consider it a sin. You can live in hope of heaven, and you can find some peace and happiness in the present, despite our present. How interesting! Wow, what to do with that? See, this good life meditation is helpful. If it wasn't for this deliberate effort every day, I wouldn't be fleshing out important concepts, liberating sin from, liberating virtue from sin. I like that even better. It sounds so biblical. Okay, after distraction comes agency and the great indifference. The great indifference being the thing that we don't want to see, the thing that we're distracting ourselves from, the emptiness of the universe, the seeming lack of presence of God. That's what we don't want to see. Yet it isn't out there. That's the point of going alone. It's not to discover that fact, it's to go alone, see what is or isn't, and then reconcile what we find. Who knows, maybe you'll have better luck than me. All right, next comes the best seat in the house, to not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with my current circumstances, what I'm doing and who I am, all the while striving to improve. Next comes the Path of Wildness, which is a way forward into and through new life. It also is a way to couple hope to our wagon, isn't it? I'm seeing good utilization for hope all over the place. I'm finding hope now is possibly a great catalyst for joy, for happiness, which would satisfy my final principle, the principle of fun. Maybe I should call it the principle of hope. No, it's different because it's more expensive than hope alone. Okay, after this comes the best seat the risk of avoiding risk, the reminder to pursue the deep risk of finding and actualizing myself, and as well as the surface level risks of security, home, family, work, retirement, etc. Next comes sin and damnation. This is the first time to do this without hope being a sin. Well, since I first added hope, which was probably about a year and a half ago. So there are now 7 sins in my worldview, which sounds familiar because there used to be 7. These are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too easily; faith, belief where belief alone is the evidence for the belief; superstition, believing things that are of almost categorically nonsense; authority, believing things on the weight of the impressive office or uniform or communication of someone; dogma, believing things because it's the blessed tradition and because it's canonical; and then I think the last one then is gossip. No hope. But gossip's definitely a sin. Don't be talking about other people. After that comes complete oblivion. The reminder that since there is no God, there is no soul, there is no afterlife. We won't be seeing our loved ones again after we die. And therefore we won't have any chance to reunite, to reconcile, or to seek justice. Because there is nothing to follow. It's complete oblivion, afterlife. Then comes the great life adventure, one or more centerpiece experiences that becomes our story, makes us who we are, gives us some important parts of our identity. Next comes the season of philosophy, which is the time to record. I'm doing that more and more now routinely as part of my daily morning routine, where I write in my journal every morning. It's not so hard after all. No writing about the weather. No writing about the quality of food. It's got to be something of substance. Next comes, after the season of philosophy, comes the bullseye aim, striving for and missing the mark. Oh, by the way, Yumiko and I discovered an axe-throwing bar over the weekend. We might go there. Maybe invite Emily and Yumiko to come. That would be fun. Bullseye aim. Then the uphill climb, trudge, steadily up. And then arena and utility. Life is an arena to utilize all these principles like tools. And then nothing is enough. Caution to seek less. And then finally, the principle of fun, like I mentioned before. A reminder to have fun. Okay, that's my good life creed. 7 objectives, 30 principles. Now for today, it's an election day here in Riverside, and a small election this day, and then I'll have 3 meetings, including one in the evening. I'll need to let my supervisor know that I'm doing that. More like late at night, I'll pass my bedtime. And then, how am I going to stay up that late? And then, like I said, I have a couple of other meetings. Today's just going to be a routine day at work. Don't anticipate much of anything. John Steinbeck is finished. He's down at the frame shop. My John Steinbeck picture. I'll get that home this evening. I'll go get that after work. Okay. Other than that, I think that's going to be a day. Take care. Be safe, but not too safe.